Welcome. I'm glad you're interested in Bethlehem's MA in Exegesis and Theology. My name is Rick Schenk. I serve as director of Bethlehem College and Seminary's non-traditional program, including our MA in Exegesis and Theology. I'm also an assistant professor of theology and one of the many profs in this program. This brief video is an overview of the MA and intended both for those considering applying to the MA and also those who have been accepted into the program. Our MA evening program began in 2018, conceived of by two of our leaders, President Tim Tomlinson, who is committed to non-traditional education that can be offered in the evening to working students, and also Dean Brian Tabb, who is eager to offer a master's track for those who are not primarily seeking to serve as vocational elders who work full-time in ministry, but for women, church leaders, and anyone who wants to be a better student of the Word. Let's look at the details. I hope I've anticipated at least some of your questions. All right, let's look at the details of the Master of Arts in Exegesis and Theology. First question is this: who are the students we're trying to reach, and what are our goals for those students? Our goals are three. First, we want to develop students who are exegetes, who know what God says in His Word by focusing on mastering biblical Greek. We do this by teaching Greek in every semester. First, an introduction to Greek, learning the basics, and then through the work of exegesis. Second, by scripture meditation and memorization, something we focus on in all of our biblical studies and our theological studies. And second, we want to train students who are theologians, those who know what God intends by His Word, focusing on systematic, biblical, and historical theological training. And lastly, we want to develop leaders who humbly perform the drama intended by God in His Word for His people by focusing on mentoring. Now, we mean that in two ways. One, we see this program as an opportunity for us to mentor you and disciple you, but also we expect that we're training leaders who, by your leadership, after understanding what the Word says, learning what God intends by His Word, to be those leaders who call the church to enact this drama God intends, and you will be mentors and leaders in God's church. Those are our goals. Who then are the students who might want to come for these reasons, for that kind of training? Students in the MA in Exegesis and Theology include men and women of all ages, most of whom are non-vocational church leaders. Yes, some in the MA do serve the church vocationally as global disciple makers, church staff, current or future pastors who, for various reasons, prefer an MA over an MDiv. Yet, most students will be working full-time, and many will have years of experience in ministry in the church after college. Admissions requirements include an undergraduate degree, references, a writing sample. Applicants, of course, must demonstrate Christian character, who are joyfully committed to the authority and inerrancy of Scripture and drawn to the theological ethos and mission of Bethlehem College and Seminary, people who gladly embrace the lifestyle commitments of Bethlehem students and faculty. Let me show you the difference then between the MA and the MDiv. The slide you see in front of you gives the basics. Let me walk you through it. Notice that the length of the Master of Divinity is 4 years, whereas the Master of Arts is 2 years. Moreover, the Master of Divinity is full-time during those 4 years, but the Master of Arts is part-time during the 2 years. Also, notice that the Master of Divinity is over 4 days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but the Master of Arts meets only Monday evening, though for 4 hours, 5 if you come for the discipleship time. It's a full evening, but only that one night a week. The total cost for the Master of Divinity is $24,000, but for the Master of Arts is about $15,000. Also, the courses are a little bit different. Of course, we can offer much less in the Master of Arts, but the choice has been to focus on, as the title goes, with exegesis and theology. So you see that in Greek, they're both about the same. 20 hours in the Master of Divinity, a little bit less in the Master of Arts, but there is no Hebrew at all in the Master of Arts curriculum. Old Testament and New Testament, there's overview, of course, in both Old Testament and New, but fewer hours. Hermeneutics both have one course. Theology is almost identical between the two, but many of the supporting courses that pastors would want in counseling, preaching, church history, missions are not offered in the Master of Arts at all. What are objectives? Well, our objectives are both cognitive and affective. Cognitively, it comes down to the key normal things you would expect: developing skills of inquiry, interpretation, reflection, oral and written communication, all very important and will work you hard. But as we do that, we'll also be working with you to help you grow as a disciple maker, and if we do our job well, we'll be discipling you at the same time. Let's look at the details of what each semester looks like. The secret sauce, if you will, in this program is that meeting each Monday evening for 4 hours, you will have only 2 classes at a time during the semester, but each semester you'll take 3 courses. So looking at fall, you'll have Greek, and you'll have that for 16 weeks. That'll be for about an hour and a half each evening. But for 2.5 hours each night, you'll have another course. In the fall, that's Old Testament theology, followed by New Testament theology. In the spring, you'll continue your Greek, again 16 weeks for an hour and a half each evening, and that's followed by 8 weeks historical theology, and then 8 more weeks biblical theology. The summer is different. It's a little bit lighter, only 2 courses, but of course the semester is a little bit shorter, so you'll work pretty much just as hard, but you'll have intermediate Greek and hermeneutics. In your last 2 semesters, you continue your study of Greek. Though no longer studying just the Greek language, now you're beginning to apply it in the work of exegesis. In the fall, it's narrative, which means looking at one of the Gospels. Right now we're using the Gospel of Mark, though that can change with the professor. Then we begin our study of systematic theology. 8 weeks studying theology proper, who is God, followed by 8 weeks looking at God's work of creation and redemption. Then in the spring, your last semester, Greek exegesis continues with an epistle, right now studying the book of Ephesians. We finish our study of systematic theology with the church and the end times, and then an 8-week series on ethics. I should mention that this video is being created in the days of the COVID crisis. Sadly, this crisis demands a video, even though we would rather be face-to-face to tell you about Bethlehem. However, I want you to know that our teaching at Bethlehem is never by video. In fact, our response to COVID may be an encouragement to you. First, even in the worst days of the crisis, when we had to meet online, we met using technology, but still interactively by Zoom. No, that's not as good as face-to-face, not by a long shot. But with small cohorts of 10 to 16, this technology allows us to stay connected, teaching with a Socratic method, or reverse classroom, rather than by lecture, and to see each other's face, even when we cannot be present together. Second, as a small school with no dorms, dining hall, or school sports, we are in a good position to thrive. In fact, because we are small, our cohorts of 10 to 16 students can meet safely when larger schools cannot. I hope I've covered at least some of your questions. The phone and the email address that you see on the screen are ways that you can reach out to me with your questions. I'm eager to hear from you.